Let's start with Black Ambition. What is it for people that have never heard of it before? How did it start, and how do you get involved in it?
Sure. So Black Ambition was founded by Pharrell Williams 4 years ago to create uninterrupted opportunities to funding, community, contacts, care, and like wealth for Black, Hispanic, and HBCU entrepreneurs. And the best way I can describe Black Ambition is actually like the very first conversation that Pharrell and I had. And we were talking about the show Lovecraft Country. And
Great show.
Dope show.
One season, HBO, what happened?
And you can only describe it to people who've seen it. Like, if you've never seen it, it's very hard to describe to people. But there's a specific episode around episode 4 where there's two characters that are having a conversation. So one is Christina, which is this white woman with all these mystical powers. And then Ruby, who feels quite powerless. Like, she has all these things that she wants to do with her life, but she feels like she can't achieve any of it. She also feels like she just doesn't have any agency over her life or her body. And Christina turns to Ruby and she asks her this question, like, Ruby, who are you uninterrupted? And I had never heard that question before in my entire life. Worked for some of the coolest tech companies in the world, just never heard it. And I couldn't answer that question in that moment. And so, like, if nothing ever stood in your way of achieving success, what would life look like? If, like, at every intersection of your life, the light was never red, it was never yellow, it was only green, what would you build? And so for us with Black Ambition, it's not only how do we help them be better entrepreneurs, but like Black people are building companies, but they're constantly being interrupted. And so with Black Ambition, it's like, how do we align all the resources? How do we align the resources of Pharrell to support these entrepreneurs so at every stage in which they need support, we can lessen the interruptions as much as like humanly possible is how we look at Black Ambition. And then when you think about ambition, it's like, okay, you can have the dreams, the hopes, the aspirations, but if you're constantly getting knocked down every single time, then you end up quitting, or you don't get to scale at the rapid pace that you need to in order to have a return to any of your investors or your stakeholders. It's like, that's how we look at Black Ambition, is like, how do we make the pathway uninterrupted for them?
So, I mean, it sounds like you two had aligned vision at that point. How did y'all meet, right? Because, I mean, we all face things as Black entrepreneurs, Black people in business. So there are commonalities in vision, but where did y'all meet to even come, like, we need to do this together?
Yeah, I co-founded an organization with my husband, Derek, called the Center for Black Innovation. We had built a conference called Black Tech Week that we end up selling to Lightship Capital a few years ago. And so we've been doing that work in building Miami's like Black tech ecosystem for almost 10 years. And about 3 years ago, Pharrell's chief of staff asked me to come, like, leave my organization that I founded and come run and kind of stand up Black Ambition for him. And so that's how we met. And the funny thing is, the meeting that I had with the chief of staff wasn't the best meeting, like, professionally. And it was a lot of me saying, like, y'all should do all these things differently. And the next day I get a phone call. It was just like, we want you to come run it. And I was like, run what? It's like Black Ambition. Like, I think that you understand what needs to happen and how to grow and scale this, but it was definitely out of left field because the meeting didn't go that well.
Perspective is key. For them, they're probably like, she has all the ideas we need.
Or she's pushing back enough to like be able to go figure it out. But it was definitely, at the time, something that was out of left field, but it was also very right next progression of how to support Black entrepreneurs specifically in the capital that they needed, which is the thing that I wasn't able to do in the 10 years of running Black Tech Week or the Center for Black Innovation.
So how specifically, I had read in the beginning that, the goal is to help 100 entrepreneurs, right, raise more than $95 million, right? So what is specifically that? What does that mean? How exactly are you guys helping entrepreneurs? Is it like a contest that they have to enter? Are you matching them up with VCs? Like, how does this work?
Yeah, our initial goal from founding the organization was to support 1,500 entrepreneurs. And so we're pacing towards that as like our initial 5-year goal. The majority of the work that we do is centered around a prize competition. And so that's how we source the entrepreneurs with partners, kind of raising the awareness for them to apply to the prize. And then we invest in 5 verticals. And so tech, healthcare, consumer goods and services, media and entertainment, and then AI is the new vertical for this year. And they enter a prize process. And we have about 200 application reviewers that help us take all the applications between 2 to 3 rounds of reviews. And then that takes us down to about 250 entrepreneurs every year. So it's a pretty extensive, heavy lift that we go through to find the best entrepreneurs in the United States. And then from those 250, we take them through a really dope 3-month cohort style mentorship program where we put them into pods and circles based off their strengths, their industries, and like what they need from a mentorship and community the most. That also secretly serves as like our vetting and evaluation of those entrepreneurs, like who's showing up to their pods, how are they contributing back to the other entrepreneurs. And then we take that from the 250 and then we invest in about 35 of those companies every single year. So we just celebrated investing in 101 entrepreneurs.
Congrats.
Which is amazing. It's faster than we kind of expected given the climate. And then those companies have gone on to raise over $95 million from the initial over $10 million that we've invested into those companies.
You have a unique vantage point, right? We talked about working with Nintendo, working with Sony. I know you've helped brands like Target and Disney and Google. What are some of the things when we talk about disparities, especially inside that corporate world? It's tough to understand it because most people aren't in it. They never get to see it. But talk about some of the vantage points that you saw that you can help entrepreneurs during this process.
Oof, there's a lot, right? So I think one of the biggest things is entrepreneurs cannot be intimidated by big corporations. Like the big corporations actually need them more than sometimes than you need them without realizing it, right? And so I always say that because there's a really interesting power dynamic that a lot of entrepreneurs that are just starting out feel like they can't contribute to the big boys. It takes the big boys a really long time to make decisions. And that's your secret sauce as a small company because you're very nimble. You can make a decision today, right? And you can activate on that today. And so like that's always a value added to those major corporations that I think small entrepreneurs just aren't utilizing and playing up enough as like their core strength.